Hey everybody, it's Sarah Kitchen from Kaleidoscope. I'm outside enjoying this beautiful day, but earlier today I was inside making the most amazing recipe that I have ever shown you. It is chocolate zucchini bread. I promise you, nobody's gonna ever guess that you have zucchini in this. It just tastes like chocolate cake. So follow along and let's get started. Let's get started with the ingredients. So you can see here I made a note. You want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You also want to make sure you have a half of a cup of brown sugar, a half of a cup of granulated sugar, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, a half of a cup of canola oil. You will also need 1 cup of all-purpose flour, a half of a cup of cocoa. You'll need 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips. I haven't measured mine yet because I'm going to be honest, I typically just eyeball that. And then a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of salt, and a half of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Make sure you know the difference between these two. And of course, we cannot forget the star of the show, which is our 1.5 cups of shredded zucchini. So this is what a zucchini looks like. Do not confuse it with a cucumber. That might taste weird. And to shred it, all I did was cut the end off, and then I used my cheese grater and swiped it across there. This took me about 1 zucchini. You don't have to get the measurement exactly perfect, but you don't want a lot of extra zucchini. You just have to watch the moisture. You can already see kind of the wetness that's coming out from the zucchini, which is great. It makes this a really moist bread, but too much moisture will ruin your bread. So 1.5 cups of shredded zucchini. You do not have to peel the skin off. That's totally fine. And again, I just used a cheese grater for mine. You could use a food processor or whatever works for you. First step, we're going to mix our sugars, our canola oil, and our teaspoon of vanilla in the bowl. So I'm going to mix these up, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to add the zucchini and eggs, and then I will mix that. So let me show you what this looks like mixed up, then I'll show you what the zucchini and eggs mixed in. All right, I have my sugars and my canola oil and my vanilla mixed. So now I'm going to add my 2 eggs. I don't know about you, but I like to crack my eggs ahead of time in a separate bowl and then put them in, just to make sure that I don't put any eggshells in my mixture. So I'm going to put my 2 eggs in. And then I'm also going to add my shredded zucchini. And then I am going to mix this up. So here's my shredded zucchini. I'm going to mix it up. And then we are going to move on to our dry ingredients. So I've got my wet ingredients mixed, and now I'm moving over to mixing my dry ingredients together. Remember, this is always a good idea to mix these together separately, because then you know that they're all incorporated and it helps us avoid any lumps. So I have my flour and my cocoa powder. Now I'm going to add my 1 teaspoon of baking soda, which is this. Yours might be Arm & Hammer in a box. I see that a lot. My 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of salt. Here's my salt. Seen better days. A half of a teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm going to add all these things in, and then I am going to mix it together with my whisk. All right, folks, I've got all my dry ingredients in here, and now I'm just going to mix it up until it is kind of consistent looking. Then I will be taking this back over to my wet ingredients and mixing it in. When we do that, we want to be careful we don't over mix. And at the end of that, we will still be adding our chocolate chips. So you don't want to mix too much, because you're still gonna have to mix a little bit to add your chocolate chips. But okay, I'm happy with this. I'm gonna take it to my wet ingredients and mix it in. Got the wet ingredients there. Now I'm gonna put my dry in. This is harder to film than I thought. So let me finish this and then I'll show you what it looks like when I start mixing it. I've started mixing it. Now I'm gonna have to scrape down the sides here to get all that cocoa powder and dry ingredient down. And then I'm gonna continue mixing it. Then I will add my chocolate chips. After just a little more mixing, you can see that I almost have it mixed together. At this point, I'm gonna add my chocolate chips, then mix it together. Then we will get it into our loaf pan and into the oven. Okay, friends, I have it all mixed. Now I need to get it into my loaf pan. For my sake, I am spraying my loaf pan with a spray first. I like this baking spray. It has some flour incorporated in it. It just helps your loaf release from your pan easily. You could use Crisco, you could use butter. Everybody has their own thing that they like. But I'm gonna get this into my loaf pan, show you what it looks like, and then get it into the oven. Gonna be honest with you, kinda wish I ate sugar and carbs because this smells amazing, basically just like chocolate cake. Here it is, ready to go into my preheated oven. That is preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now this is probably gonna need to bake for anywhere between 50 to 65 minutes. My recommendation is put it in for 50 minutes and then pull it out. And what you wanna do is stick a toothpick in, and when the toothpick comes out clean, then you know it is baked. I will make sure that I show you that part, but right now I just wanna get this sucker in the oven because the sooner it's in there, the sooner it's done, and the sooner we can eat it. All right, we're at the 50-minute mark. I pulled it out of the oven. I am going to stick my toothpick in. I'm gonna stick it in right here because this is where I can tell it's still wet. You see that my toothpick is coming out still kind of slimy. So I am gonna put it back in the oven for I think another 10 minutes. That would take me up to 60 minutes. And then I am confident that it will be done.